All right, so this one is dedicated to reading. In the reading part, I just direct the students to page 55 of their manual or their course book and tell them that the goal for reading in this session is to go through many true, false, and yes, no, not given kinds of questions. So to begin with, you flash this slide on the screen. This isn't found in their book. This is just a warm-up activity just for them to appreciate what a true, false, not given question is going to be like. Now, direct them to the text about Fremantle Prison on the screen, and then give them some time to examine questions 11 to 16 at the top, and then thereafter, you'll be assigning each of the students to read and answer a particular question. So you let them be for about 2 minutes. Then afterwards, you call on the first student. Let them read number 11, and then you let them answer. In this case, the answer should be true. That is because the reference there is limestone quarried on the site. Number two, it isn't a working prison today because the buildings stand empty. That's the clue. If it's empty, nothing's going on there, so therefore it's not a working prison. Number 13 is not given. No, I'm sorry, it's false because there's a reference to Christmas Day and Good Friday being closed, so therefore it isn't open 365 days a year. 14 is not given. There's no reference in this text as regards how many people actually go to this prison. 15, this can be a little tricky. Many students find this part difficult because they could not find the words night visit, but they do find the words bookings only uh, somewhere in the middle part of visiting times. However, this is true because, first of all, you can direct it to the fact that the time for the candlelight tours, which are for bookings only, is at 7:30 p.m., which means it's nighttime. Candlelight tours, which means it must be dark. That's why they're called candlelight tours. It's at night. Therefore, these matches, they don't always get the exact words, but the idea that's presented matches with number 15. Therefore, the answer is true. 16 is also very tricky. Some students say false, some say true, but only a few would say not given. But the answer in this case is actually not given. They might point to the word photographer at the end of the text here, but actually a photographer is somebody else besides them. Since number 16 uses the word you, there is no reference as regards you, the visitor, could actually take photos in the buildings, but it's pretty sure that someone else will. Therefore, 16 cannot be confirmed nor denied, hence the answer is not given. So you let them know that it becomes true, therefore, just a way to summarize everything as a way of, a prelude to the main discussion, the main drill. We say true if it's a restatement, meaning all we have is just a paraphrase of what's given in the text. We say it's false because of two situations. In number 12, for example, the situation here is that it is a contradiction. It is the exact opposite of what's mentioned. It is because working prison is the exact opposite of empty prison. Therefore, it's false, or of course, no, if that's what the question requires. Number 13, however, is false also because of another, actually a similar case, open every day. We have here a contradiction of closed on certain days. But the other situation actually is when we have a case of what we call a substitution, meaning we change part of the information, not necessarily a contradiction, an opposite idea. So, for example, if the statement says the prison closes at 5 p.m., And then the question writes, the prison is closed at 4 p.m. That becomes a substitution. The idea as regards what time the prison is open is given, but it isn't 4 p.m. but 5 p.m. Therefore, the answer should be false. So you can illustrate or give that illustration if you wish to illustrate the other case of false. So just to repeat, two situations when false or no is used. It's when number one, we have a contradiction, meaning the exact opposite or the antonym of what is given in the text. Or secondly, when part of the given information has been changed or substituted into something else, rendering the statement wrong. Now, not given is used when you cannot confirm nor deny the situation. So therefore, we cannot determine the answer. The answer is not given. Okay. Now, from here, you move on to the slide. This is page 55. Basically, what we do in page 55 is just guide them again, because the way this page 55 is designed is so that they will be able to follow how the answers in a particular passage are going to be presented. And that generally speaking, when true, false, or yes, no, not given questions are given, they're always sequentially presented. So this particular drill, which you do together as a class, it will illustrate that fact. So for example, number one, the question at the bottom is, it is a good idea to investigate the airfares carefully. So if you click the cursor, it will point to the basis for number one. It says here, make sure you shop around for the best price. It is exactly the same as investigate the airfares carefully. Therefore, the answer should be true. So basically, what happens here normally is students will answer in unison based on what they have read from the slides that you are flashing on the screen. Now, number two question is, there is a reduced ferry service from Melbourne in December. So again, you click the cursor and it'll point to number two in the text. Additional daytime services is not the same as reduced ferry. So again, to reinforce, this is exactly the opposite of what's in the text, therefore it's a contradiction, hence the answer should be false. Okay, so you do the same thing for number three, you do the same thing for number four, right? So, and then for number five, okay, just like that. And of course, number six, the same thing. So you're done with the warm-up drill. Now from here, you let them know that, as they can see from the screen, the answers will be arranged sequentially. Therefore, what they should be doing in the case of true, false, or yes, no, not given questions is to skim, which means they used some keywords from the question to help locate where the answers could be found in the text. And then once they find the basis for the answer, they just read down to look for the answers for the other items that follow. Okay, so from here, you let them, you usher them to the next text about paragliding in Australia. I think there are around 8 questions here. No, 7 questions, I mean, like what we have over here, this page 56. You give them about 8 minutes to answer this. And then just like what we did earlier in the warm-up drill about the Fremantle prison, you assign, one student to read and answer a particular question. We always encourage students to read out aloud the question so that they are able to exercise their speaking at the same time. If we find that there are some incorrect manners of pronouncing some words, we correct them, but of course we do it nicely. So we hit 2 birds in 1 stone here. So always let the students read out the questions out loud. So that's how it's done. And then, of course, I'll be providing the answer key for this. The answer for number 1 is actually true. Okay. The answer for number 2 is false. Why? Because It is not by the sea, but rather over here, mainly based inland. That's false. Number three is actually not given. There is a mention of a theory session here, but whether they should pass a theory test is not actually given here. Okay. Number four, the answer is actually true because it says here it takes about 7 days to get your basic license. Then you're free to fly independently at sites across Australia. So the slide here does not have the basis for the answers highlighted. So you just do a little board work here so you can direct them to the clues or the basis for the answers. So let me repeat that. Number four is true. Number five, it isn't actually before the training, but actually after the training. If you take a look at this part over here under what do I need, the last line says, which you'll be able to choose much better once you've tried some out on your course. That's basically therefore false. It's not before, but after. Fit people of any age can take up paragliding. Not actually of any age, because there is a minimum age required. This is 14, so not anybody who's fit can do this. And number seven, the answer here is actually true because of this line over here. Uh, this is therefore true. Okay, so that's done. Once you've done that, okay, you ask them again to move on to the next page over here. This is page 57. You direct them to the questions which can be found in page 58. So it's over here. Please let them know that the instructions are yes, no, not given, not true, false, not given, or not true, false, I mean. So what you can do also is when you are moving around, checking their answers, guide them because still, despite the warning, some students would write true, false instead of yes, no, and even some would write just YN, the initials. Let them know that we don't want them to get used to writing just YNNG or TFNG because they might carry that over in the actual test and miss out the instruction of actually writing the full word, not just the initials of the answer. So that's important. Now, this part plus the listening part should be done in about 50 minutes. Then afterwards, you give them a 10-minute break and your first half is done. And from there, you move on to the next part, which is the writing part. Okay, so I hope that's a comprehensive guide on what you can do in the reading part.